welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and in this video, I want to talk to you about a quick thing in Age of Sigmar 4 that's upcoming, which I think many people have kind of forgotten. With all these faction focuses coming out and all this hot news about Spearhead and everything else, there's been a little key element which we haven't seen in faction focuses. And in fact, the fact that it hasn't been there is, I don't want to say suspicious, but I am like, why aren't we finding out what is happening in this situation with heroes and the units that they unlock, which is something that we initially covered at the very beginning of this kind of Age of Sigmar 4 news cycle. I'm joined by the Twitch chat, and please do leave some comments on what you think about this. And I want to just quickly go through what I am talking about. So one of the earliest articles that we got from Games Workshop at Age of Sigmar 4 is about how to build your army, or how you're building your army has changed. How you're building your army has changed in Age of Sigmar 4. Now, an important part is they show this. They show that in order to get a regiment, and you can have up to 5 regiments in your army, you can see in the graphic, you need a hero. And when you have a hero, that hero will unlock 0 to 3 non-hero units and 4 units if that hero is your general. Okay? They've also said, and lots of people have been getting this information wrong also online, that you can reinforce any of those units, but you can't ever triple reinforce. So that means if you've got a unit of 10, it can become a unit of 20, but it can never become a unit of 30. Super simple. All right, Rob, well, that doesn't seem too stressful. Each one of the regiments is what we call a one drop, so you would put all of the models in that regiment down. Okay, that's pretty cool. We understand that. We saw the Great Unclean one recently. You know, it seemed to have these kind of good bonuses for demon units. I take one of those. It's my general. I've got 4 units in my army. No drama. So where's the drama come in? I don't want to say it's drama, but it's just been missing from the information that we've had so far. And it is all to do with this line here. So every hero lists which units they can include in their regiment as part of their battle profile. And we have not seen any information in the faction focuses about this. They do go on to say, because they talked about Lumineth in this example, in the case of Lumineth Realm Lords, for instance, a Venari Bannerblade, which is like a guy with a flag, can include any Venari units in their regiment, which is quite broad. So that does mean you'll be able to take the archers, you'll be able to take the spearmen, but you aren't going to be able to take any of the hurricane units. So you won't be able to take, as an example, wind chargers. You also won't be able to take any of the Alarith units like Stone Guard. While an Alarith Stone Mage can be accompanied by their signature Alarith units, along with a unit of Venari Alaran Wardens, who form the common core of many Lumineth forces. Unique faction leaders like Teclis can often be accompanied by any units from their faction. In rare cases, some powerful heroes can even include other hero units in their regiment. For example, a Mighty Lord of Khorne who can be accompanied into battle by Gore-chosen heroes. So I think this is quite interesting because it really does feel that some armies are going to be very, very different. The example I would like to give is Chaos. So in Chaos, I feel like a demon hero, when you're in this regiment, so I take a demon hero, is going to allow me to have up to 3 demon units. That's what I reckon. I think that is about right. I think it might be that broad. Whereas, and then if I take a mortal hero, I'm going to be able to have mortal units. But it does mean it's fairly restrictive. I mean, it's not super restrictive because I do have 5 regiments to choose from. But it does mean if I want to take, like, you know, a mainly demon force but 1 mortal unit, I'm either going to need to take a mortal hero or it's going to be an auxiliary. And it also means, and based off a lot of the reviews we've been saying so far, a lot of the faction focuses, does feel like it's a centerpiece edition. So if I have Teclis, as it says here, then, and my Teclis is my general, I can have 4 units unlocked with Teclis, and I can pick and choose any of those units that I like. Whereas if I don't have Teclis, and I, for instance, take Severith, probably immediately I'm taking Wind Chargers, units like that. And then you're like, okay, but I want 1, you know, unit of Stone Guard. I'm going to need a Stone Guard hero, or that unit is going to be an auxiliary. And there's a negative to having an auxiliary. Some people are asking where the keyword, on the bottom of some of the on the bottom of some of the war scrolls we've seen, some of the units have been a War Master. Now, we've had it like leaked, not to me personally, but has been linked online by content creators who have the rules, have like been talking online, and they've said War Master means that unit will count as your general. So that will mean that that War Master unit is going to count for having 4 units in your regiment as opposed to 3. That's what we think War Master means based off the, again, secondhand information from someone with advanced information. So that's what I think is interesting. And I think this is really, hopefully, the reason I want to make this video, and I really want you guys to be talking about it and like part of the convo, is because as these previews are coming out, there's people are really kind of like up and down. I've seen comments being like, you're too negative. I've had comments being like, you're too positive. I don't really know how to tell you that there is such a broader picture for understanding how these units, if these units are good or bad at the moment, and no one is taking that information in well. People are being like, oh, it's like, it's not as good as Age of Sigmar 3. Yeah, and you're like, well, it's a completely different, all of the units are different. Like, and sure, like they work maybe a little bit the same, but we've seen some pretty significant changes. Like Squig's got a pretty significant change to how their profile works, as an example. Like, you're going to see some big changes. So, like, we don't know here the points for anything. You don't know what units are locked to what units. So which units are locked to what heroes. You don't know how restrictive that list building is going to end up being. Obviously, with both, with any regiment, which is where you put your units into a regiment, right? When you do that, that means that you have more drops. And then if you're a 1 drop, for instance, you only have 1 regiment, that means you're almost always going to get the choice on who goes first, which is pretty massive, right? Same. So you're going to have to try to balance the ability to have low drops versus your opponent having low drops. And also you're going to probably never want to have auxiliary units because your opponent gets more command points. So there is going to be a really interesting kind of dimension to the list construction around the fact that you also don't even know the points. And I'm trying to, when I do the faction reviews or the faction focuses, I'm really trying to just say, hey, look, this sounds fun when it interacts with that. This looks like it could be good, but we don't have any points. Some of the abilities don't sound really good unless, like Sloppy Bar Piper sounds fine, the one we did yesterday, for example. But if he's 20 points, it's great. You know, if he unlocks all demon and mortal units, he's even better. So a hero might just be good because he's cheap and he unlocks all the units that you want to take. As an example, like a Warlock Engineer or the Warlock Engineer we see from Skaven might just unlock Jezzails, but it might also, quite importantly, unlock Warp Lightning Cannons. And you might be like, I actually want loads of Warp Lightning Cannons. So that's a pretty interesting character that you're going to want to take in that situation. I think Skaven's going to be really interesting as well. In fact, actually, probably should just talk about this for a second. I think some armies are going to be a bit of a have and have not in this situation. Like with Gitz and Skaven, they effectively have more than one army in their army. You see this with Lumineth. They have like the Alarith units, the Hurricane units, and they have the other, like the Stone units. Alarith, wherever the 3 are. So they're kind of like split into 3 different kind of types, you know. And with Skaven, you have the different clans. With Gitz, you have those different army types. You've obviously got Trogs, you've got regular Gits, you've got Squigs, and then you've got your Spiderfang. And so I think this is going to be quite interesting. I think it's going to be quite interesting because I think some armies might have a bit of a have and have not situation. For instance, Teclis, if he's really good and can lock everything you want, I don't know why you're not going to take Teclis. And seeing as some of those centerpiece models feel quintessential for how you're going to build your army, I think that's going to be quite spicy. And I just thought I wanted to bring that up because I think some of you are getting like a little lost in the sauce on the faction previews, don't know what the points values are, so you are making really bad judgment calls. It's only earlier in the week or at the end of last week we found out that summoning was gone. Like, yeah, the drip feeding of information I think is pretty weak source, but like summoning is gone. Okay, everyone's got endless spells. Please remember that. Like summoning is gone. Everyone's got endless spells. That's a complete game changer. Priests work completely differently and on par with wizards. There's some really spicy stuff, but this list building thing does not seem to be a focus of the conversation that people are having right now. And if I was everyone else, yeah, the endless spells are free. Like, they're free. Everyone has them, like, which is wild. And so I think people need to just really like take some context away and be like, you know what, it's really fun. We're getting some cool 4th edition information and news, but I really cannot ascertain the power level. I can't. I've professionally been doing this for years, right? And if you don't have any respect for my opinion, I probably shouldn't watch the video, to be honest, unless you hate watching, in which case shout out to you. But like I've been doing this for years, and you can't ascertain what the relative power levels of these abilities are going to be. So just enjoy the ride and enjoy the experience. When it's out in full, I will say, I think this unit is shit. When it's out in full, I'll be like, this unit is too expensive. I've been doing that for years as well. But right now, I can't do that. I also can't say, I'm like, sounds good. Most things right now, to me, are going to sound good because I have no context. So I'm like, well, you know, if you can retreat and charge, that sounds good. Yeah. If another unit can retreat, charge, shoot, do a backflip, and do 17 mortal damage as it goes out, that's better. But I don't know the context for everything yet. No one does. So just give yourselves a bit of a break, enjoy the ride, and start looking at your regiments and your army and being like, actually, if I do want to run that unit, I'm probably going to need that hero. And I think that's something to think about. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.